one. Okay, well, this is Marlon Johnson. And I'm with my dog, Brian. We go back so far, man. I can't even stand it. Anyway, introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody about yourself.
About myself, Brian Scott. Yes, I don't know if how deep you want to go, Marlon.
All right, that's good enough. That's good enough. Hey, you're boring me already. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So, Brian, I know after talking last night, I know you have questions, dog. So, come up, whatever's been bothering you, kept you tossing and turning all night, ask me, and I will tell you. I will give you a long answer to a short question, because that's what I do. All right, go ahead.
My blood pressure's high.
Okay. So, that's not a question. That's first answer. And I'm going to make that one short. But I'll give you the question that you want to ask is, why is your blood pressure high? And out of respect for the fact that the people who may be hearing this and don't really know you, I'm not going to tell you why, because God, that's embarrassing, all the things that make your blood pressure high. I will tell you this, what it ain't. It's not hereditary. How about that? There's your answer, okay? You come by it honestly. Next question.
How have you been, Marlon?
I've been wonderful. I'm living my dream. There was a time, I told you about this, I'm going to tell everybody else. There was a time when I really, in a way that other people may not be able to imagine, I was looking up from the bottom of a well, and I asked myself, what do I miss? And the answer was being around people who love me. And in pursuit of that, the other things came. I got what I looked for. I gave love. I got love. There's plenty of it out there. It's all about attitude. And one of the consequences, oftentimes, listen, I don't believe in, like luck, like going to Las Vegas, but I do believe in chance, and that things happen, and they happen undeserved. Sometimes, you get punished when you don't deserve. Sometimes you get rewarded. When you deserves got nothing to do with it. It's a famous Clint Eastwood a quote. So if you live by that and you live in love, I think. So yeah, the answer is I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. Another question.
Well, too, buddy.
Do I look good?
Great.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think so too. But that would be conceited to say that. So, yeah. For a guy, guess what? So on Tuesday, coming up, less than a week, it's 4 days away. I will be 70 years old, and so I expect at least some money or something from you. So break it off. Get ready. Don't send me no whiskey or cigarettes because my blood pressure is good. Okay.
I tell you, man.
What?
Joe Rogan got nothing on you. I can tell you that.
Joe Rogan? Who?
You're gonna do amazing. Doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I see it. I know it.
Oh, well, you talking about the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for saying it, but don't get in the way of it. You're messing it up already, man. We're trying to keep it good. So what's the next question? Are you going to help me or what? Huh?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
Well, are you going to do it today? Today? You got another question? Okay. Cool. What is it? What's going on? I know you're curious. What do you want to know?
I want to know, where are you right now? Exactly what are your intentions to do, and where do you want to take this, and what level do you want to take it to?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and here's the answer is, I'm late in the game, right? I've been curious about what's going on, but that curiosity really just started in my late 20s, and finding out what was going on was a slow process of reading. So I'll tell you, I'm going to repeat a story. I know I already told you the story, but it bears repeating. So I'm I'm in the Air Force. I've only got a couple of stripes on my sleeve, and I'm training for this for emergency response, medical emergency. I'm having a senior moment here, but when people are really hurt bad, you do something about them. That's what medics do, right? So when you're in the military, mostly in the Air Force, people who get hurt bad are people who crash in their airplanes. I mean, because people that get hurt bad, like in combat, there's all kinds of other medical guys. And I'm not saying nowadays, I guess it's very, very different, but there was a bigger separation, I think, in duties in 1970. This was in 1974. Okay, so technically the Vietnam War was still going on. But we were gearing down. Operation Homecoming had been done. I was in the Philippines when that went on at Clark Air Force Base, the military hospital. And we received the POWs, and some of them, were in pretty bad shape from being, captive for years and years in Hanoi. And but we needed more training. People like me needed more training with trauma. I had a lot of training in school. I had a lot of training with dummies, but there wasn't a lot of training with actual gunshot wounds and so forth. So I was at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas, and 11 years before then, President John F. Kennedy had been pronounced dead there. We all know that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas in 1963. So the head nurse at the time of the assassination was a woman named Doris Nelson. And Doris Nelson was still the head nurse of the emergency room when I was working there. And it was late at night, talking maybe 3 in the morning, nothing going on, and very quiet. And she and I were both sitting at a desk, our hands folded, really not saying anything, they're just staring at the wall. And I'm looking, and on the wall is a sign that says Trauma 1. And I remember I was, I used to read a little bit. I wasn't, just a little bit. And enough to know that President Kennedy had been pronounced dead in Trauma 1. So I asked Nurse Nelson if that was where Kennedy was pronounced dead and if she was here. And so you got to understand something. Doris Nelson was a large woman and a powerful woman and had a lot of authority there at Parkland Memorial Hospital. And she, pretty much bossed the doctors around there. And I was just a kid with no power, a black kid, in fact, in Dallas, Texas in 74, no threat at all. And she turned pale and got nervous and didn't want to talk about it. And I picked up, I can read the room, I picked up on, there's something funky here. So I started reading books about the Kennedy assassination to try to figure out, what's funky. And I think I started with Rush to Judgment by Mark Lane. And then at the end of the day, though, I ended up reading, and I think I counted at one time, more than 63 books about the assassination. But so the thing is, the crazy thing, right? So like the QAnon thing, right? Okay, so when Kennedy was murdered, it was so weird, shots coming from all over the place, and nobody was ready for it, and all the things about conspiracies, Sam Crawford Kennedy, the mobster, killed him because he reneged on getting him elected, or Castro killed him because we were sending the CIA there to poison his beard, or Johnson killed him because he wanted to be president. Just all these, the CIA killed him for revenge about the Bay of Pigs. Well, that's the one that kind of said, whoa, if anything is real, or possibly real, maybe, so I started reading about the Bay of Pigs invasion. And that led to me reading about the CIA, which led me to reading about the Office of Special Event, OSI, in World War II, which is the precursor to CIA. And then it led to reading about World War II and reading about the presidents there, and then why it happened, and then World War I, and back and back and back. And before I knew it, I had a pretty decent history background, and I started to connect the dots. And that's the thing about history. It's very important that in order to understand what you're looking at, it's a really good idea to understand where it came from or the development of it. And it's much easier, it really is much easier to understand why something is the way, why would somebody vote for Trump? There's historical, there's biological, there's all kinds of reasons that really do make sense. They're not reasons that work for me because, one of the things that fortunately I got was training on how to think logically. funny enough, that didn't come from college. That came from when I first learned how to program computers, when I first got out of the Air Force and worked for a computer company. And so when you are telling a computer what to do, you can't be bullshitting. You have to tell it in a logical sense. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So you learn how to think and plan and create things and think in a logical if then this kind of thing. And that doesn't come easy to all of us, Brian. It's not something, you know. Well, okay. So still the long answer to the short question. Okay, here we go. It's going to get even longer. Here's the thing: human beings have been recognizable, looking pretty much the way we look right now, for the way I understand it, and I've been looking into this about 300,000 years. It's a very, very long time. But we've only had language for about 100,000 years. And so if this pen was the length of all of human history, okay, from the time that we were recognizable as humans to 2024, right here, right? No, let's do it like this, because this thing's kind of bulky. Okay, from here, let's say just till the time we started using electricity. Okay, we've been using electricity a long time, right? Let's not even do that. This is the time we've been humans, and this is how long, when I get over this end, this is how long, let's say, we've had a written language. It's about...
You know I can't see you, right?
You could, that's right, but the people who are watching this can see me, and I told you that before. Interrupt me again, and I'm going to insult you. Okay, so from the beginning all the way to right here, dude, this, I know you can't see it, but the people in the camera see it, right? That little nib, that's how long we've been writing. We're not used to it. The evolutionary process that got us to where we're eating and seeing and hearing is just now touching our ability to use computers. All right? And we're flying helicopters on Mars. So some of us are going to take a minute to catch up. Right? That's just the way it is. You know, our brains really are not designed to handle this. However, and one of the things, they call it plasticity, one of the things about our brains is if you start somebody off early enough and you challenge them with certain stimuli, which is like kids on smartphones, the brains develop differently than those who don't. And when I say differently, I'm not saying good or bad. Obviously, since we are progressing in technology, if it's plastic towards facilitating that, then it's good. It'll help us survive, and that's what evolution's about. That's what our living is about surviving and reproducing, right? So anyway, I'm trying to remember what you oh yeah, so it's about the history thing. I don't know where this started. I'm gonna have to roll the tape back, I guess, and look at it. But I'm gonna what?
If I could add something here, Marlon.
Yeah.
Is that this is why they're trying to ban books around the topic you're talking about. This is why they want to ban books in Florida and different parts of this country.
Okay.
They want people to know the history.
But
if you don't know, you can't develop, and you don't know the past, you don't know where the people's going. So everything you're saying is 100% correct. I agree with you, 110%.
Okay, so let's be clear though. DeSantis and the MAGA people are not interested in banning books per se. They're interested in rewriting history, and that's a little bit different.
Yes.
Right. So I think everybody gets, even the MAGA people who may be starstruck by whatever's going on. Even they realize that it's way too late in the game to suppress information. The internet is here, folks, and as somebody told me way back in 1977 when I first started programming computers, he said, "Don't type anything into here you don't want to see on a billboard 50 years from now." So the idea that we're going to lose information, lose the great works or anything like that, that's ridiculous. However, it's not ridiculous that we could live in a government that makes it a crime to see it, to click on it. We need to read 1984. Go ahead. What is it?
I'm going to go back to what you said.
What?
And your analogy of moving people learning and children learning as children to use computers, I agree. And that's how the brain evolves, and it learns faster and more, and you start evolving. Well, if you don't teach them as children what the history is, then I think they're behind the game. If they have to look for this information themselves and not be taught in schools.
But that's what I did, Brian. Brian, I mean, I said I was the lights. I was in my 40s when the lights went on.
Right.
As far as connecting the dots, as far as understanding that, one of the things that I understand, and I get a lot of flack for this. Okay, one of the things I understand about racism is that it is not unique to white people. It is a human condition that any person or any group of people who have any advantage will not give it up easily, regardless of what the advantage is. And just because it was constructed as race, because the people who were enslaving and abusing non-white people had to justify it, and the people who are doing that are not the people who are walking around today. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is their sin, the sin of white people today, if there is one, is that they assume that privilege with no remorse, maybe. I'm sure there's a lot of people, you hear about white guilt, a lot of people, they're not going to give up their white privilege, but they live a little bit of white guilt. And then you have them, and I get it. I get it.
I've never met one. I can say that.
Never met one
A
what?
lot of people.
Never met.
A lot of white people. I've never met one yet.
One what?
That feels a white guilt.
Oh, I mean, let's be. I go to universities, so universities are full of white people who know history and understand what systemic racism is, and they understand systemic generation. They understand that insurance companies and banks and stuff like that have had a tradition that's kind of baked into the cake that isn't, it's not like you have white bankers sitting around saying, here comes a black guy, I'm not going to give him a loan. What we're saying is that because that black guy's grandfather never got a loan, this guy's starting from way back, and that there is, everybody knows, a presumption of criminality or so forth with black people. Is the blacker you get, the more that association seems to, as wrong as it is, as wrong-headed as it is, seems to be a problem that black people have to deal with. And that's just, but I'm not justifying, I'm not excusing, I'm explaining what it is. And if we see what it is for what it is, that it's not some inherent evil that's in this person who's exercising their white privilege, it's them just being human. What are you going to do? We're human.
Well, that is definitely a different way I've never heard. I hear you.
Well, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. If you were born, if your great grandfather came over on the Mayflower, and he made a bunch of deals with people all over New England, and some of them had involved slavery and rum and so forth, and now here you are, you're a trust fund baby, you're a gozillionaire, you're white, you don't hate black people, and what are you going to do? What would you do? I mean, what would you do different than they're doing? Honestly, what would you do?
I think that most white people, my mother is white, okay? I think that most are very good. But
most people are very good.
But Marlon, hold on. Even the very good still have that systemic way of thinking that you're describing.
Well, I don't think you answered my question.
And they don't know it. What?
I asked you if you were in that position, you just graduated from Princeton Law School, you got all the connections and all the money, what are you going to do different than they're doing?
What would I do? Knowing myself and the way I am, have to use my own personal history, I would help them.
Help who?
That's me.
Help who?
I would help everyone. Everyone.
How? How would you do it?
Whatever it is. Whatever.
Okay, you know what? All right. I'm not going to have that kind of podcast where people, give me these answers that are just like smoke and mist. You're going to have to give me something. You have to say to me something like, well, I would take $1 billion and I would invest it in a living trust and send people to college or something like that. Or I would start a business and I would use affirmative action and hire people and train them from the, give me something specific. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, dog. There are white folks who do. Bill Gates does that. You can whatever else he's in charge of the whole Meta, whatever you want to call it. It's weird as fuck. Is that him with the face? Bill Gates, whatever. They're all weird as hell, and they do weird as hell things. But the guy he's doing what you said. So what I'm saying is you wouldn't do anything any different. You might think you would. You give me more specifics, then maybe I'll believe it. But I already know you wouldn't because we don't. You're human too. They're just human. So what do we do? You know what I say? I say you play the cards you dealt. That's what you do. You don't whine about the card.
Marlon, but if you say that, then there's no change.
There is change.
None of you keep playing the hands where dealt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, where were you in 2008 when Barack Obama got elected by a fucking landslide as the president of the United States? And what do you say? What do you say in 2012 was it when he got reelected by a landslide? Black people are 13% of the population. What does that mean? That means that a whole bunch of white people voted for Barack Obama. That's not a change. You know what it's about? It's not about Barack Obama so much, and it's what it's about. It's like I said, we're all human. Barack Obama was obviously the best guy for that job, and people, whatever their prejudices were, it was only a part of the decision when they put it on the scale. And I'm not saying people didn't say, "Oh, geez, I don't really want a black for the black guy, but I got to do it." Bam, and they did. But that's what they did. And the point is, do you think that I was born in 1954? They had to drag people kicking and screaming into integrated schools in '54. Don't tell me, please. I don't want to hear it. That there's. I mean, we have what we have in this nation is what they called a more perfect union. That's a very, very, think about it, that's almost poetic. If something's perfect, that's the ultimate, right? It can't change, can it, if it's perfect? But more perfect is talking in their days, and these guys, listen, they read Latin and Greek. These are very, very educated people who are very literate. A more perfect union tells us it is intended to be perfected. And it has been perfected. We threw off slavery. We threw off, not having women's rights. We threw off our legal phobia of homosexuals. Yeah.
I hear, but it almost feels like we're going backwards now.
Why?
All right, you got Roe v. Wade. We're almost going backwards now.
Oh no! See, whoa! There is a faction, a minority faction in America that wants to do what you're saying. That's not so. There is a movement to do that, and there was a movement to do similar things in Germany in 1933. Had the German people been, I think, as plugged in the information loop as we are now, I don't think they would have let Hitler go as far as he went. And in the same way, when you say that they are, that they are not. The people I consider they are the people who are entrenched in our government, long-term bureaucrats, and you can, some of them maybe are taking bribes or whatever the hell they're doing, but they're keeping the lights on and they're keeping it rolling, and they're not trying to trash the idea of a democracy. And the people who are trying to trash an idea of a democracy, what they want to replace it with is minority rule. As time goes on, white Christians are becoming a smaller and smaller percentage of the United States population, the voting population. And at some point in time, they're going to be outnumbered, they're going to be outvoted, and are they going to be willing to give up power? They've got power. They could keep power if they changed the rules. And Roe v. Wade was one of the first things trying to change rules. Now, why would Roe v. Wade have anything to do with getting the white nationalist movement forward? It's just a test. It's just an exercise of power. It's a demonstration that, yeah, we can start doing this. and we can get enough people to go along with it, it's like a snowball.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that is all the time we have for short questions, long answers. I'm going to tax you, Brian, to spend some time and think of better questions, and then you will get better answers.
Okay.
All right.
Look, I didn't know it was part of this movement, but I will. There's no question. No question I will.
Hey, you could be my Guillermo if you act right. You know what I'm saying? Just be cool, you know.
I will.
Okay.
I will, man.
Okay, so we're signing off now.
Okay, buddy.
Bye bye.
Love you, bro.